All new at 4, we are getting you ready for the President's State of the Union address tonight, and I'm joined by Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. 10 days ago, this State of the Union speech would be focused on the economy, inflation, gas prices, things like that. But certainly the president will address those issues, but certainly it's not going to be at the beginning of the speech, I don't think, because what's happening overseas, the war being waged against Ukraine, those images, it's changing by the second, and everyone here wants to know what the United States is doing. What's our response?
Well, I think that's right. The president will be able to speak tonight to the actions that he has taken and that we're taking in coordination with our partners around the world to apply extreme economic pressure on Russia in the face of this unprovoked and unjustified attack on Ukraine that we are seeing. There is mounting death and destruction. Responsibility for it lies squarely at the feet of President Putin and Russia for their choices. And the United States continues to respond. Now, as is always the case for any president, but especially in these times, there are a lot of things happening at once. And so you'll also hear about how far America has come in the last year, what it means to have millions of Americans vaccinated, to have millions of jobs created. Matter of fact, the most jobs created in the first year of any president in American history. What it means that we passed a landmark infrastructure bill that's going to fund improvements to roads and rail and bridges and airports and ports in every part of the country, but also that we have a long way to go. And I'm looking forward to hearing the president share directly with the American people his vision for steps we can take to lower costs and prices that Americans feel every day at the kitchen table, and to make sure that we are making more things right here in America, so that when you hear about these supply chain issues, we know that in the future we're less dependent on something that's sitting on a ship in China and more able to buy things that are made right here close to home.
You mentioned it briefly, but the it was a bipartisan infrastructure deal. We know that the president will talk about that tonight in his speech. And as the transportation secretary, what can Americans expect as far as the future of transportation and revitalizing the roads here in the United States? And what comes with that, the jobs, the different aspects of that you might not think about?
Well, this year you'll be seeing more and more road projects, perhaps in and near your community, that are being funded through this infrastructure law. We're going to be delivering improvements to airports and ports. I've had the chance to be on the ground in Charlotte as well as Raleigh and see remarkable work going on with rail and transit. We're going to be funding that. And you don't have to work in the transportation sector for your job to be benefiting from this. We're going to create more economic opportunity just by connecting communities to each other better. And of course, there are a lot of direct job opportunities, mostly blue-collar jobs, whether we're talking about laying track, installing these electric vehicle chargers that we're going to be putting up around the country, or so many other things. It is fundamentally an economic vision that led to this transportation bill. And we're excited not just about the direct opportunities to build and fix things across America, but about what it means for our country's leadership across the 2020s and beyond. There's a fierce competition around the world for economic leadership, and this transportation bill helps put America back in first place.
And you touched on this as well, but certainly so many things happening for this administration. You've got COVID, supply chain issues, inflation, and now this war that's happening overseas. Approval ratings. How important do you really think approval ratings are? Because, of course, with this speech, there's going to be talk the next day about if this helped his approval ratings.
Well, of course, it's always good to have a direct conversation with the American people. But I'll tell you, anytime I'm with the president, he's not asking a lot of questions about poll numbers. He's asking questions about how to make sure we're doing the right thing, how to make sure that departments like mine are spending taxpayer dollars effectively and efficiently. And I think there's a belief that runs through this administration that good policy is good politics. If we can continue delivering for the American people, that there will be a recognition of that. And I think that's especially true as we pull out of an incredibly challenging stretch for this country, with what the economy had to climb out of over the last year, with what's gone on with the pandemic, and of course continued instability and challenge around the world.
Yeah, no doubt. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, thanks so much for joining us. And you can watch the State of the Union address live at 9 o'clock tonight right here on WCNC Charlotte.